Alright guys, welcome back. We were watching Made in Abyss Season 2, Episode 8. Last time was a horrifying episode, where we learned some of what Vueko meant when she said that the origin of the village is cursed or whatever, right? I am terrified. I'm not entirely sure if Wazikion was feeding us Iramuri or Iramuri's babies. Either way, it's horrible. So that's great. I don't know if this episode is just going to be a continuation of that flashback because it seems like we're not really done with it yet, right? There's still certainly some unanswered questions, like how they actually get to the village and like whatever that's going to be. So I don't know. We're watching episode 8. You can line your own copy up with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Oh, we are back in present time. Hi, Fapita. We need a piece of you, or at least Wazikion said we need a piece of you. Yep, to trade with Baloff. What is the promise exactly? Yeah. See, he doesn't remember anything. Yeah. I wonder what you promised. What would be something that only Reg can do for her, I wonder? Oh god, what is she doing? Okay. She's really down for it, huh? Right. I don't know if we needed that much. That's okay, though. Jesus. No, actually, wait, she ripped off an arm? Like how Reg's, like, missing an arm now, you know? Maybe that makes sense. Eradicate them together. Eradicate them. The villagers? The village? Maybe that makes sense, actually, right? The music, man. Eradicate them. Ugh. That doesn't mean it's your fault, though. Because we know Voiko blames herself in some way, right? Oh. Yeah. It's obviously not Voiko's fault. What happened with Iramuri, right? I mean, I guess we haven't seen the whole story yet, so who knows? But from what we've seen so far, I mean, you know, I guess she gave Iramuri the Cradle of Desire, but beyond that, so Fapitel wants to eradicate them. I'm going to assume she's talking about the villagers, right? Um, Interesting. What is she? Okay, one, maybe that makes sense. Fapita has some kind of connection to Iramuri, which is still unclear. But we now know that all of this stuff that happened before the village, well, it involved this immense suffering from Iramuri, right? And I guess Fapita blames the villagers for that in some way, or maybe blames Wazukion, right? I mean, he's still around. I guess we don't know how much she knows explicitly. And then I guess the question is, what can Reg do to help her with this, right? Did he agree? He'll just be like, yeah, let's go kill them all? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't really think the villagers deserve to die, right? I don't really know if I would say Wazukion deserves to die either, you know? That's kind of the interesting thing, right? We talked about it last time. The idea of sacrifice like this. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Although I just don't. Hmm. The form the wish takes. Oh, not taking it too well. What you ate, huh? Oh, he's so affected by it. very interesting compared with like the way he is now as a hollow, right? His eyes, exactly, yeah. And like think about his eyes now in his hollow form, right? If you say so. Oh god. Okay, so it's Irimuri's alright, I guess, unless we're cutting off chunks of her and eating them. Oh god. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's definitely her babies. Don't say that. Oh! Oh! She is the village. Oh! Okay. Alright, right. Okay. Awesome. No, that's great. Iruburu, Irimui. Okay, alright, alright. Oh, well, yeah, they really are. It's like a cure. Yeah, it's a perfect cure. Part of her wish in some way. Oh, God. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wishes dwell within life. Oh, God. How nice of you. No, actually, oh, God. I don't think so. God, he's so, like, his attitude about this is so weird. Why is he, like, so... Uh, I mean, of course she feels horrible. Why do I not just go insane? Would that be better? Between you and the people who gave me a place in life. Was that really a choice you had? I don't really know if that's fair, right? Oh. Sadly, I don't... Ah, she definitely doesn't want that. Oh, God. She's still alive, right? I mean, there's no way she wished for this, right? For it to be like this, you know? Oh, God. What do you do? It's like, how awful. Unable to go insane. Continued to eat it. Yeah, yeah, what a punishment, huh? It's like she wanted to die as a punishment, but this is even worse than that, right? Has to feed it to Baloth, too. Yeah, yeah. It's like the weight of living on with this sacrifice, you know? Oh, and they just get bigger and bigger. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, awesome. I mean, because obviously it's like now it seems like she's not conscious at all anymore, right? And as the village, but I wonder if she is. I mean, the balancing, right? The balancing. It sounds like her, right? The egg. Yeah. Oh, the second one. Okay. Oh. Oh. So could that be... So then, like, her wish would be something more about Vueka, right? Something... And that could be what caused the situation as it is, right? Like, she wished for Vueka to get better or something, right? With the second Cradle of Desire. And that's what made her children have, like, this healing property. It's like a... God. God, because it's so awful. But, like, what else do? We all just die, right? Maybe that's better. I don't know. Her existence would be suffering anyway, right? I mean, right. Oh, off she goes. I assume to, her final resting place in a way, where the village begins, right? I wonder why she moved, yeah. Oh god, I don't die to the birds. Oh, bye. Oh, yeah, the curse, right. Rip Elu. God, still carrying Baloff on his back. Oh, yeah, man. Just thinking about it. Yeah, too noble. Is that how Wazukan, like, thinks of his own behavior? Like, he's aware that, like, what he's doing seems so callous and awful. But he's like, aware of that. So, I mean, I assume part of her wish then was for all of them to be safe in some way, right? And that's why she takes the shape of the village, right? What is happening? She does have those things on top of her still, right? We've seen the shot of them, yeah. Interesting. Ugh. Oh, yeah, he wants to be eaten too. Of course. Yeah. Oh, God. How awful it has to be to see someone like him reduced to this. Like, yeah. Everything. Sacrifice everything. Talked about that a lot, right? Like, sacrificing everything to the abyss. Oh, that's like the entrance as we know it, right? With the weird green, like, yeah, like, membrane, I suppose. Oh. Oh, he's gonna, yeah, it's gonna shape him. But it's so interesting, right? So, yeah, he gets this new form, the one that we know of, which according to Majikaja is like in shape with your desires, right? But this form seems so horrifying for him in a way, right? Like his eyes being gone, replaced with like mouths, right? Like, is that truly his desire? You know what I mean? I guess in like a twisted way, right? The queen. It's our home. Man. And we could only find it through great sacrifice like this, huh? Is that really it? And of course, as she said, she wants no part of this. But what leads to her situation? Yeah. Or at least it's what she wanted, but not this way, right? What do you want to do instead? Die, right? Yeah, I mean that's the only other option, right? I mean it was almost like a rhetorical question, right? There's nothing else to do other than live like this, live with the sacrifices of other people under your feet. Sure. Oh, and is that yeah. But if you die, then it's like what was the point at all, right? Then in a way, mine alone. Oh. Oh. Or oh, it's the cradle that looked like that, right? What, just for this very moment, right? I mean, he can see the future, right? Huh. Oh, okay. He just traps her down here, right? Yeah, I mean, oh, there's his new form. Inside her head. Is that where this is? Okay. Sure. It's so interesting that his head is like the same color as like her hair, right? Interesting. Mm-hmm. Gotta do everything I can. It's not like a cheat code, I suppose. Okay. Interesting. I maybe that makes sense in a way, right? Well, that's what the compass represented. Yeah. Homesick for here, for the Golden City, for the Abyss. Sure, yeah. And I think everyone has that kind of feeling, right? Or could relate to it. What is it for you, Wazukyon? Absolutely, right? We talked about that a lot in season one, like the nature of the longing around the abyss. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. How awful. How cruel, right? But it's like realistic in a way. Oh, the signals. Yeah. Oh, her. Oh, he became okay. All right. We've seen that guy before, right? I remember him. Yeah. Oh, okay. Your homesickness, yeah. Oh. Heard that line before. Oh, Faputa. Yeah, it's Faputa. Right. Okay. 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 So Faputa. Yeah. Faputa is Iramui's like only child, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's like the actual fulfillment. And that's why she's like the ultimate value. Oh god. Oh, I yeah. Can't blame you. Huh. And Faputa, like, was born with that desire as well. Okay, it was like passed down onto her. Which, that in and of itself is interesting, right? Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And now it's something, yeah, something you won't ever have again either, right? Yeah, unable to take hold of it. Solitary princess born from the darkness. Interesting. So fulfill the wish by eradicating them all, as Fapita says. Oh, yeah, be like freed from it, right? Yeah. Oh. Oh god, so all of the darkness things are the... Yeah, yeah, they're all the children that were all eaten. Or just died. Ah. Because they're all part of her wish, right? Oh god. It's true. That's what she said, right? She said she just sings down here. Oh, yeah, it is her face, right? Yeah, it's inside her head. And she just finished telling that. God, what a story, huh? Oh, inherited the three eggs. Yeah, it's like the value, right? The people continuing to come down here. Yeah. And is that why she's continued to grow as well? Yeah, kill everyone. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. So she can't enter. So can Reg even bring a piece of her inside then? I don't think it's... I said, sure, that's a good way to put it, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder about that. Perhaps. What do you want to do? Okay. Sure, sure. And that's kind of all you can do, right? That's kind of all you can do. Oh, yeah, and the lyrics of the ending, right. Perfect, perfect. Actually, okay. That was such a good episode. That was such a good episode. Oh, man. That's like, that might be my favorite episode of the season. That was so good. So much stuff to think about, right? It's about like the nature of like sacrifice in this way, right? Um, I mean, can you call it sacrifice when Iramuri didn't really understand what she was doing or like the form that it would take? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it makes me think of like the whole like circle of life thing that like Rico talked about in season 1, right? That um like people's strength of the past becoming your strength, you only living on because of them, right? This is almost like a corruption of that in a way, right? We see how truly awful it is, you know. But I was thinking about it too, like when Iramiri was like, you know, grabbing those birds with her tentacles and eating them, you know. In a sense, how different is that from what Wazukyan was doing to Iramiri, right? Obviously, what Wazukyan was doing to Iramiri feels so horrible to us emotionally because we have this connection to her, right? But everyone eats things, right? Everyone tramples on things to survive in a way, right? You know what I mean? Hmm. The Return. Oh god, that is a title, huh? Okay, we'll talk about the episode in the discussion. Okay, let's talk about the episode. So we have learned the origin of the village, and I guess I agree with Voiko that it is not a very happy beginning. That is that is for sure. But at the same time, it is interesting how Voiko's thoughts on the village have kind of changed, right? Like originally here, she wanted to like die rather than live like this, right? I mean, that was literally what she was about to do, right? She went through with it if Wazukyan hadn't saved her, you know. But it's interesting at the end here, right? All she says is, you know, there's only one thing she wants now. She just wants to remember her. And how she said when Riko found her down in, I guess, inside Irumiri's head, as we know Dogupu is that now. Um, she thinks that the village is like a pretty happy place now, right? Like it's become something like good in a way, right? Despite how horrible the origin of it is, which is it's just very interesting to think about that, right? Because yes, the origin of it is so terrible, and it's like the completely built upon Iramui's horrible suffering, right? Um, and I guess we kind of talked about it before, right? But that's so true of like society in general, right? Pretty much any kind of society that's ever going to exist, right? It's impossible for the Golden City to exist without this kind of thing, I think, you know? There's always going to be people who, like, suffered and had horrible things happen. Or at the very least, there's always going to be people doing some kind of job or some kind of work required for the society to function that's gonna, like, be terrible, right? And everyone in that society is in some way you know, living for those people's like sacrifices in a way, right? Like I mean, it can just be like really basic things. Like there's a lot of really horrible, shitty jobs that exist today in like our world, right? That people have to do them that are necessary for society to function, right? 99% of people would rather do anything but do those kinds of jobs, you know, and yet people still do them, right? And in a way, that's much less extreme than what happens in this episode, right? What Royko had to go through. In a way, that's like similar, right? How society only functions because of people like that who even if it's something forced upon them in some way, they do sacrifice themselves essentially, like for the greater good almost. I don't like saying that, but you know what I mean, right? Which it's just I don't know. I this whole thing it's very like I don't think Wazikyan is a terrible person. I think what Wazikyan says here, when he says when Voiko's like, you know, I don't want this, you know, and he says like, okay, so what are you gonna do then, right? That's kind of what it comes down to in a way, right? Because like literally, what are we going to do then? Just all die, right? Um, very very interesting to think about it like that, you know. Because what's interesting is Iramuri wouldn't want that either, right? Iramuri wouldn't want Voiko dead. Iramuri would not want Voiko to throw herself off this cliff and die just because of the suffering Iramuri went through, right? It would be the opposite, right? In a way, Voiko deciding to throw herself off the cliff here would be disrespecting the horrible suffering that Iramuri went through in the first place, right? I guess Reiko herself kind of thought that earlier in this episode when she had the knife, right? Um, Obviously it's like different now because it's like she will never have any real connection to Iramuri in that way, right? Now that she's like she's a village now, right? Um, Obviously, her thoughts on it have like changed with time, right? I don't know. It's so. Let's just go through the episode. Let's go through the episode. I'm sure I will have many more thoughts about that subject, right? So Reg needs a piece of Faputa. So Faputa wants to destroy the village, right? Reg promised her something. I wonder what the promise is. Was Reg like, yeah, I'll help you. I'll go kill them all with you. Like maybe. I Here's the thing about Faputa wanting to destroy the village, right? I don't know if that's like good, right? I don't know what to think about it. Vueko said that Irimuri's true desires in some way live on within Faputa, right? And maybe that's true. I don't know. Would Irimuri really want everyone in the village to like die? Like maybe, right? I guess. Would she really want herself to be destroyed? I could certainly understand that, right? Like not wanting to maintain like this eternal sacrifice being required, right? It's almost like, in a sense, like if we're saying that in some way society can only exist, um, thanks to the sacrifice of others in some way, right? And Iribiru is like an extreme example of that. I feel like it's only fair to say that the people who are enacting that sacrifice, it has to be their choice, right? So if Irimuri truly does want to die, have the village herself be destroyed, right? And that's what Faputa is representative of. I think that makes sense. I can imagine Irimuri certainly being in that mind space, right? Um, in terms of wanting all the villagers to die, I guess I just wonder because most of the villagers, frankly, didn't actually like do anything wrong in a way, right? I guess that's my take on it, right? Because like, what you want all of them to be like Voiko and just die instead, and then I mean, it wouldn't have actually changed Irimui's situation by that point, right? She still would have been a giant pink blob and would have been giving birth to babies that would die a day later, which would have been horrible, right? And everyone else just would have died, you know. Um, so that's obviously the point. That's what you're supposed to think about, right? Is like the moral weight of continuing to eat Iramui's babies just for your survival, right? Even if she would be suffering anyway, even if um, I guess just yeah, my take is the villagers themselves don't really deserve to die for that, right? Because then it's like me myself, almost anyone in like the world today in some way benefits from like horrible things like that, right? Like I don't know, like slave labor in other countries or something, right? Like almost everybody does in some way, right? And I guess in today's like society, in the world today, it's pretty much impossible to like avoid everything that comes from like horrible sources like that, you know. Unfortunately, like almost everything you buy at the grocery store, there's probably some kind of horrible, awful labor practices involved with however it was produced, you know. So they don't really have a choice, right? I mean, we don't really have a choice. I don't, you know. Um, they didn't really have a choice either, right? Because I guess their choice was just to die, and I guess I could do that too, right? I could just die to stop myself from benefiting from that kind of thing, right? It just like obviously the situation in this episode boils it down to a much more simple like circumstance, right? Well, yes, it's like it would be very simple for them to stop eating her babies. They would just all die, right? Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's there's not really an answer to it, right? There's not really an answer to it, right? Obviously, like I feel this innate disgust for someone like Wazukyan because it feels like Wazukyan is like taking the role of the person like upholding the system in a way, but like not really, right? Because the system that they're stuck in here that has led them to this point where they either have to eat Iramui's babies or die is just like reality. It's just like the abyss. It's just nature, right? It's just like survival, right? It's the reality of wanting and needing to survive, you know. So I don't really think it's Wazukyan's fault either. He isn't the one, other than like being the person who led the expedition down to the sixth layer, right? He isn't the one who created the situation that surrounds them, right? He's just the one. He's just the one, who pushed for this horrible sacrifice for Iwamui, right? For everyone else to survive, you know. So again, I don't think Wazukyan is in any way like evil in that sense, right? Unfortunately, despite his attitude, right? He has this really like callous attitude. Like when he's cutting up one of her babies, right? Which seems so awful. He seems to be aware of it too in a way, right? Like with the way he acts later, right? So I mean, I feel like in some sense it has to affect him too. He just really distances himself from it, right? Okay, we did a horrible job at going through the episode. So Reg needs a piece of Fapita because of his promise to her. Again, I wonder what his promise to her is. I hope it's not just to kill everyone in the village. It has to be something about that though, right? Because that's all Fapita like cares about, right? She's willing to rip off an arm for it, right? Again, it's interesting she rips off an arm because that's Reg is losing an arm, lost an arm, right? So I don't know. I wonder if she did that, for that reason, right? Something to do with this connection to Reg, right? We will eradicate them together. Man. And we get some very good dialogue here from Voiko, as always. I wonder why we ever came to a place like this. I wonder why things ever ended up like this. No one can give us answers to these questions. That is because we are here as a result of choices we ourselves made. So that's an interesting thing, right? She's like pondering about just like the situation that surrounds them, right? Like the same thing I was just saying about Wazuki. How he isn't the one who decided the situation that surrounds them, right? I guess the interesting thing is like, I think what Voiko is like pondering about here, it being a place like this, and that she's blaming it on their surroundings, right? Is I think again, it's like the world at large is just kind of like this, right? The Abyss has always been like this way in the story, right? It's always just been like this very concentrated version of like the world in general, right? You know what I mean? Being representative of like longing and desire and like any kind of goal, dedicating yourself to something, right? And in that way, it's like representative kind of the dangers of doing that, right? So in that sense, it's representative of the dangers of the world at large too, right? So of course, like, yeah, the situation they're in is much more extreme, right? So therefore, the sacrifice that is like, I guess required, I don't like saying it that way, but kind of was required for them to survive, right? Is much more horrible and much more like gratuitous and awful, But I guess the reality is a place like this imagined Golden City where no one like them would exist, right? Again, it's like I imagine that Ganja, the people who went out looking for the Golden City, are people who are in some way were on the fringes of society, or in some way, we know they were all like expelled from their homelands in some way, forsaken by their homeland, something like that, right? It's like you can imagine in some way they were people who almost fit this same role that like Iramui is in for them, right? People who are, at the edges of society who don't benefit from it in the same way as like other people, right? And that's why they want to find the Golden City, right? It's just the reality is the Golden City doesn't exist if they wanted to find a place that didn't require this kind of sacrifice. You know what I mean? Like it's just not real, right? No one can give them answers to those questions because there aren't any. Or at least the answer just is, I guess what the story's telling me, and like logically to me, the answer is this is just part of life. That sadly you're gonna have to eat Iramui's babies, right? Which like it's either that or die. Like I don't know. Is there another answer? I don't really think so, right? And again, it reminds me of Riko's like whole thing about the circle of life, right? That she brought up in season 1, right? The idea that like cave raiders get eaten by the corpse weepers, we eat the corpse weepers. It's like we get to continue on thanks to their sacrifice, right? We get to we live on with them at our backs in a way, right? And it's like this is obviously a much darker way to look at that, right? Because Iramuri herself is so like suffering and dying here, right? But of course, the people who are eaten by the corpse sweepers suffered and died too, right? I guess of course there's like a layer of separation there because you're eating the thing that ate them, right? But it really isn't like the same vein to me. This idea of continuing on, living on in your life despite the sacrifices of people before you. Not even despite that, but like because of them, right? It's like because of those sacrifices is the only reason you're able to like push on, right? Because that was the same reason back in that scene in season 1 why Reg like hesitated to eat them, right? Because I don't think it was just because it's like the idea of it being human meat in some weird way, right? Because the corpse sweepers eating humans, but it's like it's like the meaning behind it in a way. That is because we are here as a result of the choices we ourselves made. And that's just a very I think we're supposed to see this line in a very dark light, right? Because we know that the only other choice Fuiko could make is to just die, right? And that's just not really a choice at all, to just kill yourself because this is the reality of like the world, right? Of society in a way, you know? I just sadly that's just not an answer at all, right? We alone have to find those answers. Oh god. No matter what those answers turn out to be. Yeah, yeah. And sadly, the answers are a little bit grim, right? The form the wish takes. Now, framing all of this in some way being Iramui's wish is so sad. But I think it makes sense, right? Because think about it, right? Vueko is so similar to Iramuri, right? Being someone who, at cost to herself, helps others, right? Like she said that in like episode 1, right? That all she's good for is like helping other people in a way, right? How she's like the nurse, right? She helps people, right? That is something that she does sacrifice a lot of herself for, right? Especially like mentally in a way. Like the thing she was saying to Bailoff in episode 1, the idea that, you know, she has like no value as a person and that she, you know, all she can do is help other people, right? It doesn't help her get like any self-esteem from it, right? She views it almost in like that sacrificial way, right? Again, it's just like Iramui is doing that to a much more extreme degree. And I guess the question is like, did Iramui understand that her wish would lead to this? Like, probably not, right? But at the same time, it's like you have to ask: does anyone understand like their desire to help other people, what that would lead to, any kind of negative consequences for themselves, right? Like on a much smaller scale, like Vueko, you know, whatever, you know, the troubles that Vueko has gone through, like mentally too, viewing herself and her own self esteem, and her trying to help other people. You know what I mean? Like, not really as a solution to that, but her thinking that's all she can do. You know? Bailoff is really affected by it. It brings into question to me. So for one, why is Bailoff so affected by it compared to other people? I wonder, right? Why? You know, like he says it's so delicious and he can't resist it, right? It's like this. I guess for him, he just has like a much more like well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm really trying to think like how to relate it to anything about his character from earlier, right? Like he's obviously a very empathetic person, right? At the very least. And maybe that's just maybe that's all that really is needed, right? Like him taking a deeper look into things, as he said with Voiko in episode 1, right? Like he has like a very deep understanding of others in a way, right? Like with the whole weird language thing in the first episode, or is that the second episode? One of those episodes, right? It seems like that's part of him as a person, right? He has like this very deep understanding of others in a way, right? Like when he looks into Waco's eyes, he could say all that insightful stuff about her, right? So I guess you could say he has such a poignant understanding of like what he's actually doing by eating Yui's children, and that's why it drives him insane, right? But what's interesting, of course, is like he's tearing at his eyes here, right? It seems so focused on his eyes, right? Like, of course it is, right? He loves to talk about eyes, right? Um, so the form that he ends up taking removes his eye, so it's like he can't see anymore. He's the torment that is being caused here, right, comes from him having this understanding, from seeing what he's doing in a way, right? So I guess his true desire, right, that his body takes the form of when he enters Iriburu, removes his eyes completely, replaces them with mouths, right? Kind of like doubly fulfilling his desire in a way, right? It takes away him having to see and understand like what he's eating and consuming, right? Because his eyes have been replaced. And it fulfills that desire he has to eat and consume, right? Because that's part of that's why it drives him so crazy, right? Is he knows he has this strong desire, he can't resist it, as he says, you know, but he has this understanding of it, you know. Yeah, yeah. And it makes you think about Midi too, right? Like him wanting to consume Midi. I wonder if like because Midi is immortal, if that's why he wanted Midi so badly, right? Something that he won't kill, right? He won't have this. He won't have to worry that much about like Midi. I guess Midi suffers. Midi probably it probably hurts Midi to be eaten by Bailoff, right? It certainly kind of looked like it did, right? But Midi won't die, right? There won't be like this permanent sacrifice that's like sustaining Bailoff in a way, because Midi's immortal, right? Oh man, Bailoff will be all right. If you say so, Matsukian. So Wazi-Khan leads us off to go see Iramuri. How nice. She gives birth every day. Your mommy's here. And she is the village. So she's the village. I just never would have thought. I just really didn't think that Iramuri herself would be the village, right? I don't know. I never would have guessed that one. But I guess it makes sense. I'd said before about how the balancing, the scream that it makes, it sounds like Iramuri, doesn't it? Like that really high pitched noise, you know? So that makes sense. Also, okay, so this brings into question the whole idea of the balancing too, right? Like, so what is the balancing, right? So it must be in some way it's being controlled by Iramuri herself, I suppose, right? Um, it's in some way says something about the way Iramuri views this or like views anything. You know what I mean? Like, Iramuri herself was someone who was shunned from her village for a horrible, unfair, terrible reason, right? So it would make sense why she would have motivation, or at least like maybe not like a knowing motivation, but like a desire for a place like the village that she becomes to like exist, right? So maybe like she herself, her body ended up taking form of that desire, right? She became the village that she wished could exist, that she herself could have lived in, you know, having the balancing, having everything be like perfect and fair, right? Despite them only living for a day, she lovingly, oh so lovingly, embraced the baby she kept on giving birth to. And, like, obviously, it's like the other thing here, too, that I don't really know what to think about. It's like this idea of her wish, like, hurting her so much, right? Like, the wish that she had to give birth to these children has done nothing but cause her immense suffering and agony and pain, you know? Um, so I guess it brings into question, of course, this idea of her understanding what she truly wants and what she desires, what she wishes for, right? And that makes sense because her desire for children in the first place only came because it was like drilled into her by the society she lived in, right? By the village, right? That valued children so much, you know. So she always thought that's what she needed to be able to do, you know. So maybe it makes sense that it just results in this pain and suffering, right? Because in a way, it's like at the village, if that's what they only view women as being important for, being able to give birth to children, you know, that's probably a pretty horrible life in a way, right? So maybe it makes sense that it just leads her to suffering, right? Despite her thinking it's what she wants. Ah, really wish I could, but while you were sleeping, there just wasn't enough to go around, so I used the living ones too. And the symptoms from the pseudo water started to diminish. Yeah. Wishes dwell within life, after all. God. And he cuts it up. Don't waste a single bit. Of course he doesn't, right? This line like makes sense to me, right? It shows that on his end, I think, he understands like what he's doing. He understands how horrible it is. And the only way that he like finds any kind of meaning in it in a way, or like thinks it's better, is that he doesn't waste any of it. He's not wasting any of Iramuri's like sacrifice, right? He's making the most of it, you know? Like, and that's really, I think that's really all you can do, like, I guess, from his perspective, right? Hmm. Oh, God. And yeah. I stood by and let your precious babies die. Why do I not just go insane? But how would going insane help? Right? She has this desire to just go insane and just die, but like, and it's not weakness, right? I'm so weak I couldn't choose. I don't think it's weakness either, right? I don't think these kind of like self-destructive thoughts about this kind of thing like helps or leads anywhere, right? And again, it's like we know now. We know she's had a whole lot of time to think about this, right? We know that her thoughts about all of this has changed, right? She doesn't want to die anymore. She doesn't want Iramuri to die, really, right? She just wants to remember Iramuri, right? That's really all you can do, right? Between you and the people who gave me a place in life. But I just feel like this is a false dichotomy, right? Like unfortunately, the reality of the situation was either you choose to live with her sacrifice or you all die, right? I don't know, right? And of course, again, and it's awful because the sacrifice was forced onto her, right? Like there wasn't an understanding that Iramiri had that this was going to happen, so that makes it so much worse, right? But once it's already happened, I guess, what do you do, you know? Hmm. Standing by and watching as your wish continues to get taken from you. I just can't do it. And she wants to die. But unfortunately, part of her wish is for you to be alive, right? She wants you to live despite all of this, right? Like, if anyone can live despite Irimuri's sacrifice, or because of Irimuri's sacrifice, she wants it to be you, right? Hmm. Still have wishes that you pursue even now. I guess, like in a way, right? Kinda. That's kind of a really dark way to look at it, but I understand like the mental state she's in. Unable to go insane, unable to simply die. I can't make even a single choice. Although I long to be punished, I could think of no greater punishment than this. Yeah, to continue living, right? Because of course, right? And I understand how it would drive you insane, right? And I get that. I just, man. But I mean, again, it's like eventually she did reach a point where she doesn't just want to die anymore. So eventually she was able to come to terms with it in some way, right? I don't know if I would be able to reach that point, Like, not when it's this extreme, right? Because it's like I've said, it's like everyone in some way is living like this, whether you like it or not, to a much less degree, to a much less extreme degree, and also with many more degrees of separation between you and the suffering of the people that like support your life, right? But it's still there. Yeah, even in hell, people keep on living. Yeah, yeah. Because again, what else are you gonna do? And that is why we have prayers and lies. By the time everyone got used to hell, Irumyui had stopped her shrieking. I love this line so much. It makes so much sense, right? It's like everyone's gotten used to the hell, right? We've gotten used to living with this sacrifice in a way. And she stopped shrieking, right? It's like the reminder of that sacrifice is gone too alongside that, right? Be so easy to forget, right? Which the reality of the village now in the present time of the story it is forgotten, right? No one really knows like what the village is, right? Other than people who were around back then. And yet, despite that, right, they're still living because of it, because of her sacrifice. So there were two eggs. So Wazikyung gave her another cradle of desire. It was when Vueko got sick, right? So I unfortunately for Vueko's like mental state, right? Um, I think Wazikan gave her the second egg, and I think the reason why the wish took this form that it did in a way, at least perhaps maybe for the babies being like a cure for the illness, right? Is because he gave her the second egg after Rico got sick, right? So when Rico's sick, of course, Emu's wish is going to be something about, oh, I want people to not be sick anymore, right? Maybe Rico specifically, maybe all of them, who knows, right? And I think the form that the wish took was her babies can now cure the sickness. So yeah, he had the interference and skill luck for him. Yeah, and he gets another one later too, right? Is this really what Iomiri wished for? Yeah, I mean, it's the form the wish takes, right? It's like just this very dark way to look at this idea of desire and wishes, right? Like just this very because that's always been like the main theme of the story, right? Is pursuing your desire, pursuing a longing, pursuing something that you truly want. But in this case, it's just so awful. It's like this idea of your desire leading you to this, right? Of it being perhaps not what you really wanted, not really understanding it. Just such a dark way to look at it. But it's realistic, right? I think that's reality for a lot of people. Like how many people? I mean, like obviously this is kind of a stupid comparison, right? But how many people, changed dramatically like what they wanted to do with their lives, right? Like in terms of like a career or like anything like that from the time you were younger, like as you grew older, right? And like imagine how unhappy you might have been if you actually pursued what you wanted as a child, not really understanding what it would mean. So off we go to go form the village. Everyone gets attacked by the birds. Rip Elu. It's a reminder of how harsh and horrible the outside world is without this sacrifice to sustain us, right? Right. You are too noble to ever get used to the suffering. None of the rest of us will do. And I guess I agree, it is noble in a way, it certainly is, right? Like this realistic understanding of like what it is that maintains your life, you know? Of course it leads Baloth to insanity, right? And I mean maybe you could say the truth is like that for our world too, right? That if you had a true understanding of the amount of suffering that is required for the systems that uphold the society you live in, maybe everyone would be like Baloth, you know? I don't know. It's kind of impossible, right? Like with like the only reason that they're able to understand in this situation, like what the situation is because it's so few people and it's one person undergoing the sacrifice, right? In our world, that we have 8 billion people, and it's you know there's all these degrees of separation. You know, it's so I don't know, but it's really it's sobering to think about. You know what I mean? She stops. She grows some tentacles, eat some birds, which even this, right? Even this is it's like the, you know, this is like further sacrifice in a way, right? No one cares about these damn birds, right? But even then, it's like it goes so well in line with that whole circle of life thing that Rico talked about, you know. These birds are suffering and dying for this too, you know, for Irumyuui in a way, right? And Baloth, of course, wants to be eaten as well. I prolonged my life by taking what is dear to you. I've toughed out starvation and pain before, but I couldn't resist. My pride, my convictions are all gone. I can't stay human any longer. He doesn't want to be human anymore, right? Which makes you think of what Waco said when Rico first saw her, that she was like surprised at still being human, you know, that she thought she herself must have lost her humanity because of her, like, you know, because of all of this, right? Living through hell, accepting hell, getting used to it, you know? So Baloth, yeah, Baloth wants to give everything to her, and in a way, like I guess he does, right? But like not really, right? Like I guess he sacrifices everything to her in a way. He gets this body and shape with those desires. In a sense, you know, his eyes are replaced with mouths. It's like that understanding is gone and just replaced with that hunger, you know. Hmm. And like they see Baloth become this giant, insane monster. And they're like, "Oh, Baloth has taken a new form. How beautiful!" I would be running and screaming, but maybe that's just me. Offer up our bodies and souls to the queens. This is our homeland, more valuable than gold could ever be. Unobtainable, no matter how much we sought it. It is our home. And Voiko doesn't want it. Can't believe this is really what Irumyuui wished for. So what do you want to do instead? Exactly. The only other option is to die. Yeah, yeah. And of course, I mean, I disagree, right? I just the option can't just be to die, right? It can't be, you know, like because in a way, again, it's like this is trampling on Yui's wish, like even further in a way, right? If she rejects all of this sacrifice, right, willing or not, you know, like even though it's so dark to think of it in that way, you know. Warm darkness is mine alone. In a way, it's like, of course, I also think Breaker's attitude is like fueled by like her horrible self-esteem and like the way she views herself, right? Thinking of herself as being worth so little, right? She can't stand to have someone sacrifice all of this for her, again, willing or not. Um, because she herself thinks she has so little value, right? She can't imagine herself being worth any of that, you know. So Wazukan used an egg, I assume, with his like gift of prophecy, essentially just for this moment, right? Just for this moment, he knew this would happen. He used the egg for like this superhuman like speed in a way, right? Hmm. No one can take her away from you. Irumyuui is yours alone. And he traps her down here in Irumyui's head. Essentially having Reiko be part of the sacrifice in a way too, right? The only reason the village can exist is because of Irumyuui being here, you know? It's like horrible to think about, you know? Like Vueko didn't want the village to exist at all. The village can only exist because of Vueko being trapped down here, you know? Like where you have the deepest connection to her. I already gave my body over to Irumyuui though, so this is just the remnants. I guess that's where you use the egg, I suppose, right? Like the scar from it. Hmm. You've witnessed it too, right? If you were this cursed pit, what would you do for those who came here and did nothing but pray? We've been gathered here. The compass you brought with you, I don't know why, but I felt homesick the moment I saw it, which is very interesting. Like, it's this whole idea of like the abyss itself, like drawing people in, right? And I guess you can think of it from like an in-universe perspective, the idea of like the abyss, like literally having like this effect where people are like drawn to it in a way, but also just like the idea of like the abyss representative in the story, like what it means, right? Like being like this longing and this desire in and of itself, right? And this homesickness people feeling of it being something that they want to like pursue, like whatever that is individually for them, right? And the abyss representing that, like wanting to fulfill those desires, wanting to fulfill that homesickness. The homesickness I felt doesn't come from having feelings for your homeland. Yeah, it's like something you couldn't have, no matter how much you yearned for it, something that will never come back. And that's what the abyss is, right? In a way, all of our characters have a desire that is just like that, right? Rico wants to see Liza. Liza's probably dead. Probably something she's just yearning for that won't come back. Reg wants to like get his memories back or know who he was before. He'll never truly have that back, right? He's a new person now, right? He'll never have his memories back in that way, right? Or ever probably truly understand who he was before in that way, because essentially he was a different person entirely. Nanachi with Mitty, right? Mitty's gone, right? She's never going to have Mitty back the way it was before. So it's perfect. That's really what the abyss is. For Prushka, right, going on an adventure, right? Well, Prushka is a whistle now, so like I guess she's going on an adventure, but like not really. So that too, right? It's a fragile longing that they can never have, right? For me, that something was Iramiri. Wonder what it was for Wazukyan, just the Golden City, perhaps? I'm sure the Great Pit will continue to call out hereafter and far into the future. To those who keep striving to fulfill their longing. Exactly. Please watch over things from here where Imuri's feelings reach you directly. Yeah. And she gets the signals, right? That's what she talked about. Everyone became a part of her. But she has her one final wish is Fakuta, which is the actual child she gets to have that doesn't die. The thing you yearned for but couldn't have, your homesickness. Fakuta, your final child, who inherited all of Yurimi's desires, apparently, which is she doesn't forgive anyone and she wants to kill them all, right? Can't really blame her, right? Can't really blame her for all that suffering. Of course, for Faputa herself, it's very interesting to think about, right? This idea of Faputa like being like trapped in a way by that desire. Because it doesn't come from Faputa, right? It comes from her mother. Which, I don't know, it's an interesting thing to think about, right? The voice of your imprisoned soul, of your flesh, which we'd made into your home. She was screaming it out with her whole being. Iramiri, until I met you, there's something I'd been looking for. Yeah. In the true darkness, there certainly was a light that no one could find. Yeah. That solitary princess born from the darkness. I couldn't help but hope that you'd be able to fulfill the wish you inherited from your mother, and that someday the curse would be lifted, and that you could find your very own wish and set out on a joyful journey. Exactly, right? The idea that Fapta herself doesn't have to be defined by just this. So she's been sitting down here naming all of them, like how just God for thousands of years, right? For I mean, how long it's been since they got down here. Obviously there was the time dilation, so I guess we don't know how long it's been on the 6th layer, right? Who knows? I suppose. But she names them all. Yeah, and this was her face. Yeah, she's inside her head. And God, Waco just told all of that to them. Like, that's crazy, right? Man. Hmm. Oh, and it makes so much sense, of course, why Fakutai is like the embodiment of value, right? Of course she's the most valuable thing, right? She's Yumi's child, right? Like, obviously. Man. free her mother, to destroy the village. And Riko doesn't want that to happen, right? Which I think makes sense, because again, the village is like different now, right? But I don't know. I don't know. It's really a question whether or not Iramuri like being destroyed would be like good or not, I guess, right? I guess everyone would die, like no matter what, right? Because the village, even now, is still keeping them alive from the horrors of the sixth layer, right? But if Iramuri herself wants to stop the sacrifice that she herself is enacting, and she has the ability to do that through Faputa, I think Iramuri has like the right to do that in a way, right? Suppose an old lady you've never seen before told you to stop adventuring. Yeah, no, exactly, right? That's how it is with Faputa, yeah. So I don't think we're going to convince her, right? And I don't think we're going to stop her with force. So I don't know. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Just don't want to forget about her. That's all you can really do. Well, that was like the best episode of season 2 so far, for sure. One of just the best episodes of the show. Like, that was so good. That was so good. So I guess we'll see what we're going to do with the Faputa situation. I literally have no idea. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess step 1 still is we got to free Nanachi from her prison, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We got the piece of Faputa, so who knows? Who knows? So yeah, I guess that's it. So please, if you enjoy my videos, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next one.